Building communities, building lives. The work of the KAIBIGAN Foundation. Cars cruise in morning sunshine down a tree-lined boulevard in a leafy Manila suburb. Behind gates like these, people live in houses like this, and this, and this, and this. They go to work in soaring tower blocks like this, and this, and this. But just 2 kilometers away, millions of people live in neighborhoods like this, and this, and this. Their boulevards are like this, or this. Their streets like this, and this. Their neighborhoods like this, and this. And work, if they can find any, is like this, and this, and this, and this. If they can't get a job at all, they can apply for jobs as domestics or laborers in other countries. More than 10 million Filipinos, or about 10% of the country, now live and work overseas. On people's faces there is anxiety and resignation. But there is also hope. Poor people make the best of hard lives, and despite the poverty, there are so many warm and friendly Filipino smiles. This is the world of the KAIBIGAN Foundation, a small non-government organization dedicated to fighting urban poverty. With a hands-on board of directors, Director Susan Biteng and her team of dedicated social workers operate from KAIBIGAN's headquarters in San Andres Bukid. This building was purchased through the efforts of a generous board member. Their mission is to strengthen poor communities and build lives, to encourage poor people to help themselves. KAIBIGAN's partners include local community leaders, often the mothers of the children that KAIBIGAN sends to school, local officials and organizations, and volunteers from the Philippines and abroad. Children are everywhere. The Philippines has a higher birth rate than India, China, or anywhere in Southeast Asia. It's more than twice that of Thailand. Education is therefore a central pillar of KAIBIGAN's work. At the annual Balik Eskwela, or Back to School event, equipment and supplies are handed out to about 400 primary and high school students, as well as more than 50 scholars now attending college thanks to KAIBIGAN. Certificates are presented to high achievers, as well as to community leaders in recognition of their work. Together, the director, a community worker, and the president join the occasion. The KAIBIGAN choir sings, and these children aspire to graduate one day from technical or vocational college or qualify as nurses. At its nearby learning center, KAIBIGAN runs formal and non-formal educational and training courses and team-building exercises. At its summer camps, youngsters can get away from crowded city tenements for a few days, for fun and games in the countryside, as well as discussions on topical issues such as reproductive health. At KAIBIGAN, the role of the family is a key component in community development, as well as the education and nurturing of the children in the 6 poor communities that it serves. KAIBIGAN's annual Family Day brings together more than 1,000 poor people, mothers, sons, daughters, husbands and wives, to strengthen family ties and underscore the importance of families taking responsibility for their own lives, as well as the lives of their children. Back at KAIBIGAN House, kids discuss some of the major social issues they must confront every day, such as drugs, teenage pregnancy, corruption, violence, and so on. The empowerment of women, training them to become responsible leaders and how to become independent, is a top priority in the battle against domestic violence and unequal rights. Parents also conduct their own training sessions on issues like education, health and housing, and effective parenting. Disasters, both man-made and natural, are frequent events in the Philippines. Fires raze shanty towns. Entire poor communities are sometimes swept away by the more than 20 devastating typhoons that hit the country every year. At KAIBIGAN's disaster risk reduction and management training sessions, staff learn how to prepare for emergencies, so they're ready to respond swiftly and effectively if and when disaster strikes. Here, a KAIBIGAN team, volunteering their free time on a Sunday, heads off after devastating floods in August 2012. They hand out emergency food to hungry, displaced children. A week later, they're off again with nutritious food for another badly hit district north of the city. KAIBIGAN staff are always ready to respond, but disaster relief is tiring work. Each year, KAIBIGAN arranges free medical treatment for the poor. Volunteer doctors and dentists check the teeth, eyes, blood pressure and so on of hundreds of poor people who could not otherwise afford it. Medicines are also given out for free. KAIBIGAN works in cooperation with the government to assist in critical areas such as reproductive health. It's also teamed up with the Lifebank Foundation to fight pulmonary tuberculosis, still a major scourge among poor families. Sometimes there's a free haircut. KAIBIGAN's choir supports the foundation's advocacy and fundraising activities. These talented singers perform on various occasions. They practice hard and are learning new songs from their musical director. Dancing is taught and encouraged for public performances as well as just for fun. Painting and drawing classes by trained professionals are held for selected students. Many children's paintings have been sold at KAIBIGAN's Art for a Cause events, thus raising funds for the treatment of pulmonary tuberculosis in the 6 communities it serves. KAIBIGAN's livelihood project provides much-needed additional sources of income for the children's parents. Here, beautiful macrame bags and belts will be sold at the KAIBIGAN House outlet and at selected city stores. Fine beaded bracelets are also made for sale. Crowds have gathered here to watch something special. It's the KAIBIGAN Theatre Group performing in the streets of their own neighborhoods. Their plays, some written by the children themselves, focus on issues like alcohol abuse, drugs, domestic violence and so on. They perform by day and by night with energy and joy, expressing themselves proudly and passionately, sharing crucial messages with their parents and friends. At Christmas, the group also sometimes presents a colourful nativity play. KAIBIGAN started over a quarter of a century ago, when Alain Pronovost, a French-Canadian social worker, started helping poor children in the streets of Manila with a basic outreach program. 25 years later, in 2011, KAIBIGAN celebrated its silver anniversary with a day-long event at which Alain was reunited with some of his very first beneficiaries and helpers. Many KAIBIGAN alumni gathered together, reflecting on the great changes that had taken place in their lives since those early days in the 1980s, from the first choir practices and study sessions in Bocobo Street. Looking back to the days when kids like Flor Inte, seen here on a KAIBIGAN outing to the hill station of Baguio, and Susan Biteng, so serious in her school uniform, could have had no knowledge that they would one day be the finance officer and the project director, respectively, of KAIBIGAN Foundation. In fact, many former beneficiaries have returned to work with and support KAIBIGAN. Nor could little Loretta Baloaloa, so very shy and uncertain of the life that lay ahead, have had any notion that 2 decades later she would become Vice President of Citibank in Singapore. Here are the 3 friends at Singapore's Changi Airport. What a difference KAIBIGAN's helping hand has made in their lives. KAIBIGAN must raise around $270,000 every year just to keep these community and child development programs running. In its work, the foundation is very fortunate to be supported by several important donors. From abroad, they include the Leger Foundation in Canada, Kinder Nothilfe in Europe, the Lloyd George Asia Foundation in Hong Kong, the Simon Drew Foundation in the UK, and Sumitomo Metal Mining Company in Japan. In the Philippines, they include Life Bank Foundation and the American Women's Club. Despite impressive successes, however, many serious challenges remain. Far, far too many children like this still live in poverty on mean streets in dreadful environments, where the front entrance to one KAIBIGAN student's home looks like this, and this is a family kitchen, and the back alley looks like this. There are so many anxious, vulnerable children in the slums that KAIBIGAN is trying to help. They too need an education and should have a smile on their face like this. KAIBIGAN guides talented, deserving, but impoverished kids and, in partnership with their families and communities, creates a brighter future. Here are some of the college scholars who have benefited so greatly from the support that KAIBIGAN is providing. These youngsters are so serious about their studies and about the future of their friends, their families, and their country, as they aspire to a better life and perhaps one day a job in a gleaming tower like this. For now, however, it's as if an entire generation of young, poor Filipino children is gazing at us directly through a fence. Please help KAIBIGAN to help them.
Puso